Hello again, grown Black folks talk, still out on the climb, but the sun decided to go on and leave me and the wind arrived where I was. So I decided to go ahead and make a move to at least a place where the sun's going to leave again, but at least we'll be wind protected here. I wanted to share some more thoughts from the Project U conference that I was part of. Again, it was such a blessing to me, and I'm encouraging those of you that were not able to make it to catch the replays. I'll put the links to how you catch that 3 days. So there's 3 days of replays. And with anybody who comes in, you'll be able to get the Recall It All Project U companion that comes with this, that has all your different files, additional videos, photographs, and things like that that go with Project U. So you get the whole experience. You just purchase the replay options. I did an overview of the speakers who just blessed me, and there were great people in the chat offering wonderful commentary as well. But there was one particular presentation. There were actually, I could do multiple videos. But Helen Gill Smith, she talked about something that really gave me language for things we are discussing on this channel for years around grief. And the title of her speech was "Acceptance is the Key." And she is a certified grief counselor. So there's more to grieving than just, okay, something that we understand is grieving happens to you. There's other things that happen. And the two things she talked about that I thought were very germane to us as Black women were anticipatory grief and also disenfranchised grief. I'll deal with the second one first because of the time in which we're living. She used the example of you have a miscarriage. Well, most people don't necessarily even know that you're pregnant. So people do not understand that they need to give you support. You know that you've lost your child, but other people are not aware of how deep this is. It's very hard to know unless you've been through it. And so you are not allowed to give that voice and receive support because people are not willing to open their understanding enough to try to understand what you go through. Well, with Black women, disenfranchised grief is to a point, combining this with what Marissa Price shared about the history of slavery, the history of what happens to us in the workplace and the medical workplace. Not too long ago, everything having to do with birth and gynecology was experimented on Black women because they disenfranchised us from even being able to feel pain. And if you consider the time in which you live, in which there are men walking around because their mamas messed up, wanted to take the franchise from all women, but especially first and foremost Black women, because they remember who, got Donald Trump out of office the first time and almost would have succeeded this time, except for some people deciding, multiple demographics decided they want anything but a Black woman in charge of them. But 92% of us came out and used our franchise to try to keep that man out of office. The empire is going to attempt to strike back. So there's going to be disenfranchisement on every level. A lot of the things that people want to see shut down in this country, they think only Black women use those things. Now they're going to cut their own throats because there's no way that on Project 2025, it mentions that 40% of the children born are born to single mothers, but the only single mothers they mention are Black. We're 7% of the population. So they're going to cut themselves and their own kids' throats, shutting down all these programs, thinking that they're hurting us. But that's what happens. This is what happens to Black women. We are made the poster child of all that's evil and all of half of humanity. So when we have struggles, we're told we're angry, we're bitter, we're crazy. That's disenfranchised grief. And some of us are grieving an entire country right now. A country that wants to disenfranchise us. Not everyone here, but enough people in power. There's that level. So you have to find a way to find the support that you need to find your voice and refranchise, if you will, your own grief. But before Helen Gill Smith talked, I didn't even know that existed. Well, like I said, we're going to lose this sunshine here in a minute. All right. I don't want to become invisible on y'all. Okay, wait, hold on. That's a little better, but not much. Okay, let me wrap this up. Then she talked about anticipatory grief. Okay, you know what? We're going to take a little walk. We're going to take a little walk and find us some sunshine. Because I don't want to disappear. So I got to find a nice beam of sunshine. We're going to take a little walk. Because again, I'm sitting up here talking about disenfranchised grief and the sun is disappearing. I'm being disappeared, and that's not the object lesson I want to give you. So we're going to improvise a seat here. The advantage of knowing the park really well is that you kind of have a sense of what you can do if plan A doesn't work, then you got plan B. And if plan B doesn't work, then here we are. We're going to use this old tree trunk and improvise plan C. Hope that we're not digging wood splints out of the nether regions later on. Anyhow, let's see here. Okay, I made it. All right, we're going to be okay here for a little while. Let me get reset up here so y'all can actually see me at eye level. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. There we go. Now I'm not being disenfranchised on camera. So, as I said, we have to re-enfranchise ourselves. We just did it. Object lesson. I didn't plan that, but that's sometimes how things work. We're going to sit here for a minute. It won't be too much longer, but we're going to sit here for a minute. Okay, so then, once we have dealt with disenfranchised grief that many of us as Black women are suffering, and again, these are things I didn't know were going on. Then you have situations in which anticipatory grief. And for me, when I heard this, such a load of not knowing what to do with myself came off my life, because I'm one of those people that can look down the road and be able to tell, because I'm pretty good at pattern recognition. And because I'm decent at pattern recognition, I can kind of look down the road at what people are doing and be like, you about to run off the rails. You dead already. You gone already. Or I'm going to have to leave you. And even though it hasn't happened yet, I'm already in the grieving process because I know this is what's going to happen. And something that's a personal struggle for me is I'm in the process of watching many of the elders whom I love and grew up with. They're getting older, and of course they have to leave. Not grieving them so hard before I die that I can't be with them and give them all the golden moments that I can. The man I refer to as Sergeant Love is in this process, as we all must go through. And watching him decline is very difficult. Anticipatory grief is no joke. When you see a loss coming and you can't head it off because time of life, well, that's natural grief. There are unnatural things that happen. I have a friend of mine who's going through having gotten some real knowledge on how to take care of our health, and he cannot get his relatives to pay attention to it. He can already see the handwriting on the wall. And it kind of is a sidelight to even when a Black man does try to do his best for people in his family. Sometimes because of situations, Black women are like, we're not going to listen because now the trust is broken. That's a tragedy. And he knows what's coming down the pike. And all I can tell him is find ways to win the trust. Because that's what has to be resolved. But it's difficult when you're trying to do the right thing and people don't pay any attention to you and you know what the outcome is going to be. That's tough. That anticipatory grief is serious. Many of us, I think, go through this. And again, it's disenfranchised grief because people don't see what we see. So because they don't see what we see, they don't have the empathy, they don't have the pattern recognition skills, they don't have the historical knowledge, or in the case of the United States, I mean, the anticipatory grief for the United States is pretty heavy because we can study enough in terms of economics to know if you do certain things, you're going to wreck the economy. If people are already having a hard time with prices and you do tariffs, we already know what's going to happen. So we're going to watch a lot of people really begin to suffer. And because even though there are a whole lot of people that voted to suffer like this, because they are human beings, it's difficult for me to watch that too. Because they're human beings. They have little children who are going to suffer for the foolishness and then be lied to and then probably perpetuated. Because what we have going on is a lot of white people who were not willing to tell their family the truth about why they were standing there spitting at Ruby Bridges at 9 years old. Why they blew up those 4 little girls and stood by and let that happen and did not check their quote-unquote white brothers who did that. Instead of telling the truth, they've raised a generation that is of the mind that no matter what happens, it's somebody else's fault. So if you behave like that, the history of the Confederacy, the history of Nazi Germany, the history of South Africa tells you you're going to lose. But people don't want to hear it. They think they're going to run the table. It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to us. Well, history says it is. But then you have anticipatory grief because you know what's coming down the pike. The only thing we can do is get ready. I learned so much from that. I also learned that my grief process as a person is not the same as most people's. I'm not one for the anger phase too much. I am basically, acceptance is the key. I basically will look at it and be like, this is what it is, it's over. So we're going to do everything we have to do and then go backwards. Since there's no point in bargaining, it's done. We're going to go ahead and then go back to the stages of depression. And then sometimes up into bargaining with the future. If I just do a little bit more over here, can I prevent this from happening? So my own grief process is a little bit different than most people's. Really having that solidified. There was a lot of value in this particular, for me as a human being, as a Black woman. There was a tremendous amount of value. Turn this way a little bit because, again, it's winter. It looks like a summer day, but it's definitely winter. And the sun is like, I got to go. I got stuff to do. Bye. We're going to have to move again in a minute. But that was largely what I wanted to talk about. And there were wonderful things. I'm going to show some things that I mentioned on the previous video. I got to work on my dark cousins and my dark gift wrap. So I'll be showing that and telling y'all about it. But I want y'all to catch these replays. So the replay I'm talking about this particular day was self-care. And Helen Gill Smith was with Marissa Price and also Alicia Renice, the artist, who talked about all the different ways that we can begin to release these kinds of grief. Well, the things that I use from her basket are journaling and walking to release. That's how I would just keep it 100 with you. Journaling, praying. I also have a prayer journal designed by the lovely True Mystique. I got to order another one real soon. Doing those things helps me to keep my sanity and to release. It's been a lot. I'm 44. There's been a lot that's gone on. But I'm so glad I was able to be in the company of these Black women who have gotten the skills together to be able to bless their listeners and also have been able to explain things to me personally in a way that helped me find clarity for me, not just everybody else, but also for me. So I really want to recommend that you pick up the replay. There's a self-care day replay, and also consider if you're interested in cryptocurrency, if you're interested in how to make AI work for you, if you're interested in how to use technology to keep track of things in your life in a way that makes you powerful as you move out of some of these workspaces where they're showing they don't even want us to do things for ourselves and get ready. There will be a recovery phase at some point for this economy. I mean, even Nazi Germany had a recovery phase called the Marshall Plan. So if you survived and you stayed out of being denazified and removed from public life, you were able to move on to the next stage. So getting prepared to move on to the next stage, Leslie has some wonderful things on Notion. True Mystique's going to tell you how to make AI work for you so you don't have to be afraid of it. And I'm going to teach you how to get richer on the regular with cycles that happen in the economy, and if things collapse and are restored, some of those cycles are going to come back. So that's the strategy day. And then safety day is all Auntie Love, my fellow auntie, who is sitting up talking about how you do self-defense in a time like this. All kinds of things that you can do, from Second Amendment type things to less lethal options to things you do if you're in an incident. Like I said, I keep mentioning the dark gift wrap, but y'all gonna have to have her explain it because she's better explaining it than I am. That's the safety day. If you're interested in your self-defense as a Black woman and you want to get the proper mindset for that, then you probably want to go ahead and purchase the safety day. I'm going to put links to all these things in the description, and I'm also just going to put it out here. I'm going to be rolling up on Helen Gill Smith. She's doing a incident event on the 29th that I plan on rolling on into so that I can learn more. And all of these wonderful speakers have things where you can get some time with them to learn more, including me. For those who are at the conference, I'm setting up a Zoom call tomorrow to learn all about Bitcoin and how to research different cryptocurrencies. And these things are available. I will find out for the next video if the Project U Discord is still open. We'll see what happens with that because we're not done with this. We've done one summit, but we've got some things to go. Anyway, that was just an insight on something that really blessed me from the Project U Summit, and I encourage you, if you weren't able to make it to the summit, replays are available. I encourage you to purchase them. All right, y'all have a good day now, and thank you for listening. Bye.